Greetings and salutations. I've got a challenge in store for you guys. So, because in my walkthrough of Wild Moon I was able to beat the adventure without any of my units dying, I thought that it would be redundant to try to do a no death run of Wild Moon. So instead, as a challenge, I'm going to be doing a no HP damage taken run of Wild Moon. So, the rules are simple. I'm not allowed to exit out of a combat encounter. I have to do it right on the first try, and I can't suffer any HP damage on any of my units. I'm going to be using Bruxa, the Knight, and then the Arcane Wizard to do this challenge, along with whatever fourth companion I happen to get. Hopefully, it's not someone useless like the Sasquatch. Of course, I'm doing this on normal difficulty, that's another part of the rules, and without any further ado, let's begin. So, as usual, I'm going to go on the bottom path, the one that hits the most nodes possible. I do want to get as leveled up as possible because, well, for one, it means that my party is going to be as strong as possible, but also because it's very important for me to get Bruxa up to level 3. In my opinion, she's one of the units that has the highest priority to get all the way up to max level right away, because she just scales so much better as she continues to level up. And on top of that, she's not that good at base level, and so it's not only important to get her to a higher level just to be useful, but it's also important to get her to a higher level because you get so much more out of it compared to keeping her at a lower level, and also compared to what you get out of leveling up other units. There are a couple of units that I consider to be high priority to get leveled up. One example would be the Barbarian. That's because you want Berserk Ritual, I believe is what it's called. That one basically guarantees that he can tank effectively because it allows him to give himself health regeneration. Since he doesn't have too much armor, it's important for you to be able to make him survive in some sort of way, and that's my preferred way. In any case, this is the situation I've got to myself into. The Knight there just finished off a sapling, and that means that Bruxa now has a skull. So instead of doing 3 damage with her basic attack, she's able to do 4 damage with her basic attack. This is important because it means that she's going to be able to one-shot this Ashravan Warlock here, since he has 4 HP remaining. Otherwise, he would still be alive, still be able to wreak havoc, and there would be a possibility that he summons a Vine Paw. And if he did that, there's a chance that it would run past the Knight and go over to attack Bruxa, which wouldn't be good. Now right here, I'm not allowed to attack that enemy with the Knight, because it has a special trait that causes it to deal 1 true damage to any unit that attacks it from the front because of its antlers. It doesn't do true damage with his normal attacks though, so that's good. That means that the Knight can stand in front of him and tank him without any problems. So there we go, I was able to finish that combat encounter. Of course, I don't get enough XP to level up. You never do from your first node. But I luckily get my first ambush right away. You can't get one on the way to the first node, so this is actually the earliest possible ambush that you could get in any adventure. So this is just another way to help me get some more XP, and now I actually am able to level up. Although, it's kind of risky to level up right now, because there's a chance that I'm going to run into a situation where I could potentially take HP damage on the way to a node, and then it would just be better to heal my units, leveling them up there. However, this is actually an exception. You see, since I'm not taking any HP damage in this run as part of the challenge, I don't have to worry about healing myself. Now right here, Hack Its Branches is the only option that I've got except for Backtrack and Take a Detour, but that option causes all of my units to take damage. Now I'm not going to count situations that I have no control over, which would be things like dice roll events. I can't really control the RNG there, so in my opinion, that's not something that counts as a run killer. If that was the case, then I would have to restart constantly because I don't know what kind of luck I could get on the way here. So I'm mostly focused on the combat encounters. Those are the things that actually take strategic thinking and planning, and so that's something that I would prefer to focus on. I think that's where all the impressive feats come from, so that's my focus. Now the thing with the Arcane Wizard here is that he can deal a decent amount of damage with his basic attack to this enemy, but instead of finishing him off with Bruxa, I'm going to instead finish off this sapling, and the reason why I'm going to do that is because I can just use the Knight to attack this Nightshade with their Shield Bash and stun him. So he's not going to be a threat either way, so I would rather just kill that sapling and get him out of the way. So there he goes getting stunned, and now because that enemy doesn't have any armor regen, he's just permanently lost that 2 effective HP. And now I can actually finish him off with the Arcane Wizard. So there we go, I didn't have to worry about any extra effort on my part, and I can move Bruxa up to attack this guy. Now that she's level 2 and has 2 skulls, she's able to deal 5 damage. Although actually, at level 2 with just 1 skull, she deals 5 damage. So she actually gets no benefit out of that. I kind of wish that she would. I think it would be a good buff to her. So the thing that I'm going to do here with the knight is move her in front of this healing thingy. And the reason for that is because she's going to gain some extra HP out of that. But also because by doing this, she's taking the attack with some of her armor. So that means that there's room for her to regenerate some of it. But she's going to be able to use her shield bash to stun the enemy on the next turn. So she's going to regenerate 2 armor from the turn that the enemy's stunned. And then on the turn that he gets his attack again, she'll have the chance to regenerate another 2 armor. So she'll get 4 back total. So it's really no big loss at all to let her take an attack right now, since she's going to be able to get almost all of her armor back. You see, she's only going to be missing 1 armor by the time that she gets it back. And that means that she's got 5 armor total, which is crucial since the attack damage of the trunk is 3 to 5. So she's perfectly capable of taking an attack without needing any extra help. Now what I'm going to do with Bruxa here is just move her up to get a little bit of healing. It literally doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not taking any HP damage, so missing any HP doesn't matter. But it's just a little flex there to do that. So I'm actually going to use the Fortify bonus to gain even more armor. So she's guaranteed at least 2 armor left over. And because he does 5 damage, that is the amount of armor that she gets left over. Doesn't really matter though, because this guy is totally dead. And this other chunk isn't in range to actually hit anybody. If I moved Bruxa down to attack him, there would be a distance of 2 between them, and then she would be in range to get hit by him. This is one of the things that makes Bruxa arguably one of the worst out of all the heroes that you can get in this game. And I don't blame anybody for considering her one of the worst ones, if not the worst, since her lack of range compared to other ranged heroes like Olok and Azra makes her a lot more vulnerable. The playstyle for her is to deal enough damage to kill enemies before they actually are a problem. However, when she's at low level and doesn't do enough damage to actually kill enemies that effectively, that's one of the reasons that she's relatively a lot better once she gets to higher level. So as you can see there, I saved up enough experience orbs so that I can get her all the way to level 3 right away with everybody else at level 1. And right there, I get the Sorceress, the new and improved buffed Sorceress that comes with this update for Wild Moon. However, I don't get to try her out just yet because I run into an unavoidable situation that actually forces me to break one of the rules of the challenge, which is that you're not allowed to exit out of the game. You see, the game crashed. It's frozen right now, and so the only option that I have is to exit out and then restart the app. However, it doesn't change any of my progress, and it's not me correcting a mistake, so really doesn't count. In any case, let me take this opportunity to explain why the Sorceress makes for such a satisfying combo with the units that I have. So her first ability, Cursed Blast, in essence causes enemies to take more damage the more attacks that they receive while the affliction is on them. So the Cursed Blast specifically causes 1 extra true damage for the first hit, then an extra 2 true damage for the next hit, and then an extra 3 true damage for every hit after that. So if it gets hit 4 times, then the enemy is going to take 1, then 2, then 3, and then another 3 true damage total. For 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9 true damage extra, on top of the attacks that it's already received. And so this makes it a very powerful combo when used in tandem with the Arcane Wizard's Magic Missiles ability. So right now is not really the best time to use it because he can easily get in range to attack this enemy. However, instead of actually doing that, I'm going to instead try to attack this dog here. And luckily, I do enough damage to put it at a relatively low HP value, and so this means that I can finish it off with a really weak attack. So instead of using the Cursed Blast of the Sorceress to set up an enemy to take more damage, I'm just going to finish it off. So obviously that's not using her ability to its fullest potential. However, because I'm killing an enemy and preventing it from causing any harm by attacking any of my units, that in my opinion is just as valid of a use of the ability. However, it does effectively mean that the Sorceress is only contributing 2 to 3 magic damage, range magic damage at least, but still far less than any other unit. And so, when you're not in a position to set up good uses of Cursed Blast, it's going to make the Sorceress seem like a really weak unit. She's actually still one of the weaker companions in my opinion, just because she isn't that effective on her own. She's just dependent on so many other factors. For me, units that can stand on their own pretty well are the ones that I prefer to fight with. So, Bruxa here uses this ability, which has a chance to scatter its bullets in the same way that Magic Missiles works. However, it doesn't do that, and so this enemy's still alive. However, I know he's going to die the next time he tries to move, so I don't have to worry about him. Instead, I'm just going to use this ability to apply Poisoned and Rooted to this enemy. And because he's poisoned, that means that he counts as weakened, which means that this is a setup for an epic effect. And I actually get the maximum damage possible with the epic effect on the Knight's Slash. And so I just finished him off right away. Not that it really matters because I would have finished him off with the next attack that I land on him anyways. So I'm going for this node here instead of the other one because it's a combat node instead of an RNG node. For me, RNG nodes are the ones that you want to avoid as much as possible. Now in this situation here, the first thing that I want to do is attack this spider on the left because he's coming up close, and I want to be able to gather up a skull right away for Bruxa. This way she can do more damage and also have opportunities to use her ability, which has 1 more range than her regular attack. So that's sort of Bruxa's way of overcoming that problem that I was talking about earlier, where she doesn't have enough range to snipe at enemies from a safe distance. In this case, all of my units are pretty safe. Well, it does look like they're in danger since they're surrounded by enemies, but you'll see the setup that I've got here. So the Knight, unfortunately, is just not in a good position. The Sorceress is in the way. Even though she's been buffed, she still ends up being a hindrance. But, you know, that's kind of a coincidental thing, not really her fault. Now, Bruxa here is in a position where only her ability is going to be able to snipe something. And so, the option that I opt for is to snipe at this enemy, the Nightshade here. And I use this ability instead of her other one, Graveyard Kiss, because this one has a cooldown of 2 turns, whereas Graveyard Kiss has a cooldown of 3 turns. And so in case I want to use that ability again sooner, it will be ready and charged again. Although, of course, I don't even end up needing to use it. You see, the Knight here is still not able to do anything. And on the next turn, this Trunk here is going to be able to come up and attack. So all 3 of those units there that are bundled up are in danger. So I just have to make sure that I kill him right away. And I am able to. Luckily, I'm also able to kill this spider right away. He has 10 HP, Graveyard Kiss does 11, and so I'm able to finish him off. Now here's an opportunity for me to just kill him with my regular attack, but instead I'm going to flex a little bit and use the power of the magic missiles to do extra damage. So rather than 4 plus 1 to equal 5 damage with that magic ray combined with Curse Blast, instead I do 2 to 4 plus 1 plus 3. I mean plus 1 plus 2. Sorry, I accidentally did the addition in my head while I was saying what the problem was. Have you ever done that before on a math test? Because that's happened to me a couple of times back in elementary and middle school, where let's say the question was something like 3 times 5, and so I know the answer is 15. So when I'm writing out the problem to show my work, I write 3 times 15, and then I end up doing 45 on the math problem and getting it wrong. So one of the downsides of showing your work. Just I hope this can serve as an opportunity to vent in case you've ever run into that problem. In any case, the reason that I leveled up the Arcane Wizard first, instead of any other unit, was 1, he gets a damage boost of 2 compared to everyone else, who, well, the Knight only gets a damage boost of 1, and the Sorceress gets no damage boost. She still does 2 to 3 damage with her regular attack. Now, I make a big mistake here. I should have used Graveyard Kiss, but instead I used Skull Sacrifice, for the same reason as before, because it has a shorter cooldown, but I would have just outright killed that guy if I used Graveyard Kiss, so that was a mistake on my part. Anyways though, I'm going to use the Rooted ability on this enemy, so that way he's not able to move towards my units to attack, but instead of taking advantage of the fact that he's rooted and just staying away from him for 1 turn, instead I'm going to use the epic effect of the knight's shield bash by stunning him while he's weakened, because poison counts as weakened. And so the epic effect doubles the duration of the stun. So instead of 1 turn, he's stunned for 2 turns. So this basically means that instead of 1 turn of me being safe from him, I'm safe from him for 2 turns. So that's nice. Now, this mistake of mine that I made of not killing him right away is going to cause a lot of problems later on. The first of those problems was the fact that instead of, getting another turn to do something else with Bruxa, instead I had to use her next turn, killing that enemy. And I stopped moving her at a point where the Sorceress is not even in range to kill this guy. So another turn has to be wasted on defeating this Nightshade that's stunned still. And even though I could finish him off right away with the Knight's slash ability, instead the thing that I opt to do is stun the sapling, or rather come up here and face him directly, because something tricky with these enemies is that they very occasionally do not target the enemy that's closest to them. Instead, sometimes they go for a target that seems more important to them. There's a little bit of a hierarchy that goes on here. Also, I'm not allowed to attack this Astrovan Warlock because the only thing that's going to accomplish is freeing him from the ice prison, and I don't want that. So you see, this is the downside of me not finishing off the enemy sooner. So now I'm in a position where I'm more susceptible to these enemies, but good RNG rescues me from the bad decision that I made. So right away, the thing that I have to do is stun this Trunk here, because now that he's revived, I need the Knight tanking for as long as possible, so that way she can protect all of my other units from these guys. Now the good thing about Bruxa is that she's the only unit that can deal 8 magic damage with a regular attack. On the contrary, the Sorceress does so little damage that there's no way I would ever be able to kill this enemy, so instead I have to apply Rooted to him. And also, even though I've applied Rooted to him for that 1 turn and he took some poison damage, so he's at 4 HP now, I still only do 2 to 3 HP. So her turn is not going to be able to kill this enemy, so I have to use Bruxa's next attack on defeating him. Now here's the really unfortunate part, is that the Knight is at risk of taking HP damage herself if she gets hit by the Trunk. The Trunk does 3 to 5 damage, so with good RNG, I will be able to tank the attack without taking HP damage, but that's a risk I don't want to take. So instead I'm going to use that satisfying combo that I was talking about earlier by applying Cursed to this enemy, and then I'm going to use the magic missiles from the Arcane Wizard to attack him. Since they have a chance to scatter, this also relies on RNG because they could come after the sapling instead, but luckily they didn't. So now I'm free to attack him. I'm just going to move the Knight up a little bit and then tank the attack. There's no point in stunning him because Bruxa is going to be able to defeat him anyways. I'm just going to move up for the sake of increasing the spacing, or decreasing the space that I have between myself and the enemies. That's usually a disadvantage, but because I have the enemies in checkmate, it doesn't really matter too much. So there we go. I stopped this guy yet again, and I can finish him off safely. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that certain attacks actually don't trigger the bonus damage that the curse effect contributes. So if I was to use Frost Lance on that enemy, for example, which does 1 damage to him, he would not gain an extra 1 damage from the Cursed Blast. It just doesn't work with that skill for some reason. I think it's a bug, because there are other things that are directly attacks, like the Poison Arrow from the Ranger, that also don't work with the curse effect. So I really think that that just is a bug with the Sorceress. If not, though, I think she needs to be buffed, because I think that it should count for basically all sources of damage. The only sources of damage that I can think of that shouldn't count are damage over time effects, like poisoned. But the initial damage of the Poison Arrow, the 4 true damage that the enemies take, that one should definitely count with the Curse Blast. In any case, let's analyze the combat scenario that I've got here. So, Magic Missiles at level 2 does 3 to 6 damage, but the Astrovan Enchantress has 7 HP, so no matter what, I'm not going to be able to kill her. However, that minimum damage of 3 is just enough for her to have 4 HP remaining. And as you can see, this Pokeok that's right here, he is a Sigma male. So as soon as this thought gets in the way, he slays her. And so she's not a problem anymore. So it was worthwhile to deal even just a little bit of damage to her, so that way I could get rid of her right away, and she's not a problem now. Now I do make a little bit of a mistake here by moving the Knight back. I was trying to keep her safe from the Nightshade here because he can deal armor ignoring damage and also apply poisoned. However, I didn't need to do that. As you can see, I just have to move the Sorceress up, or rather down, and to the right by 3 spaces, and now she's in range to apply Rotting Curse to the Nightshade. So now that he's rooted, he's not able to do anything, and I also would have been safe to actually stun him with Shield Bash and be fine. But it doesn't matter. I do 7 damage to him, and so when he takes the 1 damage tick from the poison, he's going to be finished off, so he's not a problem. Now when it comes to the Arcane Wizard, I do not want to attack this guy, because there's a chance that he will take a path to the Arcane Wizard that does not use any of the hexes that are adjacent to the Sigma males, Poke Oaks, and so I have to just retreat without attacking. That's fine though, because not attacking means that I regenerate everything by 2 turns instead of 1 on his ability cooldowns. So that means that I can use magic missiles to take out another enemy, and that's precisely what I'm going to do with this guy here. So this Trunk here, he's taken 3 damage, and if I wanted to, I could actually just finish him off with Bruxa, because she does 8 damage, and so it's going to be a little bit of overkill. But instead what I'm going to do is move down by 1 hex, get in range for this Ashravan Warlock, and then instantly kill him. That's the power of this party that I've got here, and it's really satisfying once they're leveled up and can actually do that. So here we go. I'm going to shoot the magic missiles at this guy, so he's going to be completely destroyed. And now I have the freedom to move the Knight freely, since all the other enemies have been defeated. There's just this Trunk left. So I'm going to move her up, and then the Sorceress is not going to be in range to do anything yet, and so I'm just going to stop her here. There's not anything else that I could do, and so I'm going to move Bruxa up a little bit too, and keep her there. Now I could have actually used Bruxa to attack that Trunk there, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to snipe this guy with magic missiles since I have them charged. I do close to the minimum amount of damage possible, but this Trunk is close to getting killed because the Sigma male keeps on slapping him. So speaking of slapping, I'm going to have the Knight come over here and attack him too. And there we go. So now I get to do something even more satisfying than the magic missiles combo. I'm going to do a combo with Bruxa. So I could just finish him off with a regular attack, but instead I'm going to hit him with all 3 of these skulls. So that +1, +2, +3 for 6 true damage total added onto an attack is going to apply to her 3 skulls as well. And so because she does 4 to 6 damage times 3, which is 12 to 18, you add 6 to that and you get 18 to 24 armor ignoring damage. So there's a pretty high chance that that's going to one-shot even the highest HP enemies in the game, and that's something that's just too satisfying to pass up. So that's why I decided to completely overkill him. Now between these 2 options, I think it's far better to go over to the Weaponsmith and upgrade my units. Unfortunately, I'm 25 gold short of being able to get another 100, and that extra 100 would have been helpful for leveling up another unit. In fact, if I wanted to, I could level up somebody twice in a row, or I could level up 3 units total. But instead, my only option is to level up 2 units total, or to just not use the gold, but why would I do that when I can get extra damage? So I'm going to upgrade Exoburst, because I don't really have any damage over time effects that I can apply to units, so Punishing Curse isn't going to be helpful here. However, Punishing Curse, in my opinion, is stronger if you actually get the chance to use it. It just depends on whether or not you have a party that can benefit from it, and also depends on a lot of luck, but I'll get into that more later. So, with the boss fight that's coming up here, I've actually taken the footage and sped it up to double speed. The reason for this is because the animations for every single one of the boss's turns, as beautiful as they are, they just take too long for me. And so I want to get this process over with because there's not that much to explain with the fight. Obviously there's so many things to consider on every single turn, especially the first turn. You have to worry about the direction that, oh great, I gotta think about all the enemies' names again. You have to think about the direction that Ga is facing. You also have to worry about keeping all of your units more than 2 hexes away from knock. And then you also have to worry about not getting overwhelmed with all the summons that are spawned by Moore. I like to remember his name by thinking of him summoning more units, so I do that. But I also think about the order that I like to kill them in, because I kill them in the order that the name is actually written in. So Moore, I like to kill him first because I don't want him spawning more units. Okay, here's another satisfying opportunity to use all of my magic missiles on him. However, I'm getting this cutscene here where this guy is saying that he's being shielded by his brothers. And I noticed something interesting there. He actually took 4 damage from one of the attacks there. So it could be that the effect that I was describing earlier with the punishing curse, or not punishing curse, with the curse blast, sorry, so many curses in this game, perhaps it actually continues to stack even past 3 damage. So that might have been a minor buff that I didn't see when I was looking through all the different patches to the game that came out with Wild Moon. So I'm not going to attack this dog here with the knight. Instead, I'm just going to move her back, and I'm going to use the Arcane Wizard here to kill more. I couldn't get him at the maximum range away possible, but it didn't really matter since I do enough damage to kill him anyways. In fact, I overkilled him by 2 damage, but I wanted to play it safe. Now this is one of the rare instances where Bruxa is far enough away from all of the bosses that she's not at risk of getting hit even if she uses a full action. So I'm going to take full advantage of that fact by getting rid of this trunk right away. Now I don't have to worry about him coming from the left, so he's just not a problem. I'm also going to take advantage of Exoburst by blasting away his armor, and then moving along with the Sorceress, and then just keeping her there so that way she can recharge the ability even sooner. Now with the Knight, I'm just going to move her over here, and then use her Fortify bonus, so that way she can have more armor left over after she gets hit by him. And I'm just going to take out this dog here before he becomes a threat. So I haven't actually damaged the boss at all, unless you count the 4 armor damage total that I did with Exoburst, but that's not really a big deal. Also, you can see right there that the Knight is actually able to block that attack, which is interesting to me. So here's what I was talking about earlier, where the Knight is not, or not the Knight, where Bruxa is not far enough away to afford to use any of her full actions, so I have to get her out of there. Now, the Sorceress doesn't give me that many options to work with here, but what I end up deciding on doing is moving her over to right behind this enemy, even though she doesn't have anything that she can actually do from this position, because it at least keeps her safe from the Ashravan Warlock. Now what I'm going to do is move the Knight over and then just attack him. So now he's got less than 6 HP, which means that it's safe for me to kill any of the other aspects, which in this case is just knock. So now I have to get him down to less than 6 HP, and then I will be able to kill Ga. However, spoiler alert, that's not going to happen. Instead, let me just kill that Ashravan Warlock. Now he's not a problem. Even though Exoburst is a full action, I do not actually have the freedom to use it on him, despite the fact that the Sorceress is right there. He technically would be in range, but she cannot use ranged attacks on enemies who are in melee range, so that's not an option for me. So I hit him, he takes 1 true damage because it pierces through his resistances, and then he takes extra damage from the magic missiles. So that was really satisfying. I completely killed him even though he was at maximum effective HP. And now, I get myself into a situation where I'm free to do as much damage as I want to the boss. So let me use Skull Sacrifice. Now he's basically almost dead already. I have all these options with the Sorceress. I'm just gonna flex on this guy by using Exoburst on him, but it doesn't matter because I can just attack him like this, and then the Knight's gonna come over here and finish him off. I didn't even get a chance to use Disintegrate. It's honestly not that good for any phase of the boss except for the final phase, except I didn't even need it because I had another version of Disintegrate, which was any one of Bruxa's skills, because those do a huge amount of damage as well. And there you have it. I completed 7 combat encounters and got 7 flawless victories. So this, along with the entire video that you just watched, should be enough proof to show that it's possible, doable, and even a little easy to complete Wild Moon without suffering any HP damage. It just takes a good understanding of the game and careful consideration of all of your actions. In any case, I hope that you have a good day. Take care, goodbye.